In this video, we're going to talk about trading advice I'd give to myself when I started. Stay tuned. Hey traders, a very warm welcome to you. So, when I started out trading 2001, 2003 properly really, what is the advice I'd have given to myself back then that I now know now? Okay, first one is start slowly. There's no rush. There's no need to be putting money in an account and hammering away at it without any idea of what you're doing. You need to take the time to learn about the markets, learn how they move, understand. I would have said back then, the advice I give myself is price action and just pure supply demand. Don't get carried away with indicators, tools or gimmicks. Just look at pure price, analyze pure price, and don't rush into making your first trade. Commit to taking notes for the first few months. Commit to paper trading. Just commit to doing something without having that intensity of losing money. Now, I know I've mentioned before that demo trading, paper trading, I don't think is very useful. I do to a certain extent. At some point, you have to have skin in the game to appreciate the highs and lows and emotions that come with real money attachment. However, when you're learning and just starting out, it makes perfect sense to just do things without any monetary attachment, because you're not even going to know, when things open, what does news come out? What does it do? What's an extreme move? Where does the market go? How much could I lose? You just don't know anything. And so it pays to just kind of get all that boring stuff, which is relatively easy to learn, out the way quickly before you even think about risking anything. And the same, even the process, stop trying to go to, Paul Tudor Jones within the first couple of months. Recognize that, hey, it's going to take me at least a year to get things under my belt, 6 months, a year, 2 years, or whatever it is, and be prepared for that mentally and say, hey, if that's how long it's going to take, I need to be careful how I allocate capital and resources. All right, number 2 is don't treat it like usual learning. What do I mean by that? I mean that I think I made the mistake of, and a lot of people make this mistake, and I think it's human nature, to treat it like any other thing that you want to learn. You just study like an animal. You just say, hey, I want to learn this. I'm going to get every single book, every single thing about indicators, every single thing about, and you just devour the whole lot. And you go, okay, I'm ready now. I know what RSI is, a Bollinger Band is. I know this, I know that, I know the other. I know when the market opens. I've learned it all. I'm ready to trade. Off I go. Bang. You just lose money straight away. And you, what? I know everything. I've learned all this stuff. I've done all these books. It's not like traditional learning, is it? We know the score. You may well know every single thing there is to know about trading, but there's a big difference between knowing it, doing it, and making money. There's a big void that we can't fill with education, that is your experience, how you respond to things, your discipline, your psychology, how you approach money, all this kind of stuff that you don't know until you actually start placing trades for yourself, actually start losing money, making money, seeing these swings and feeling it, the emotions for yourself. So I'd say don't treat like usual learning. Rather than trying to absorb everything, just learn what you need to learn to get yourself going down the path you've chosen. And this is why we come to number 3, create your own method. Don't worry about what other people are doing. By all means, take their ideas and methods and strategies as inspiration for your own, but decide where you're going to go and stick with it for a while and learn all you can about that. So let's say you're going to trade DAX. Learn all you can about how the DAX moves, what causes it to move, what causes it to gap, what's its normal ranges, how is it this. I'm going to trade pound US dollar. Okay, now I need to know all about what's affecting pound US dollar, how it moves, everything, just focusing in, but then learning about it, as opposed to the scattergun approach of, I want to learn everything and that means I'm going to be an expert. Recognize, learn enough to get going, then get going, take stock of the situation. I'd say let's take a step back, assess what you've done. There may be no pattern to it because you haven't really got a strategy, but there's so much to do when you start out. It's so easy to be overwhelmed and you think you're going down the right path and then you have to come back and go down another. It's like a maze almost. So creating your own method, easier said than done, because it's very hard at the beginning to say, well, I don't even know what to trade. But just writing down some things like, what time have I got to allocate to this? What strategy do I quite like to trade? Would I quite like to trade? What capital have I got? All the kind of things. And then just doing some research and saying, well, which market is right for me? What type of trading strategy and style is right for me? Number 4, focus on, study, learn from mistakes. What do I mean by this? Focus on, study, learn from mistakes is exactly that. Learning from what you've done wrong. I think myself definitely, and I know a lot of people, gloss over mistakes in the early days. You think, I'm a beginning trader, I don't have to worry about that. All I've got to do is focus on this. And in actual fact, there's so much information to be had from your early mistakes that you can use those to make massive leaps forward. And I mean massive leaps, especially in your early years. If you find that your stop loss placement's poor, or this or that, the other one habit, if you can crack that early on before the habit sets in, you can make massive leaps that you don't have to undo all that work again later. And so seeing what you're doing wrong, recognizing it, analyzing it, learning from it and improving from it early as possible is a really good way of trading it. It's definitely what I would say to myself when I was starting out. Number 5, be realistic both in time and money. We kind of touched on this. If you have only got a small amount of money, be realistic about it. Say, hey, you know what? I'm doing this for experience. This is not going to be making me a millionaire in this phase of my trading career. In the future, there's potential. You'd be saying to yourself this right now, saying, hey, you know what? I've got a small account size. I'm using this to get the skill. Once I get the skill, then I've got the potential to kind of have the big returns. But at the moment, I need to focus on just getting that skill, just getting through the learning period and just getting a strategy that works and finding myself being able to kind of craft a little bit of money out of the market based on the stake that I've got. Not focusing on trying to build that into something massive and taking extreme risk and all that kind of stuff. Later on, you can decide to do that. Once you've acquired the skills, you can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to have a moonshot here and I'm going to go for some stupid returns and accept the risk that comes with it, or not. That's something to be decided later on. Initially, it's about getting to the profitable stage. It's about getting some level of consistency, some level of focus, some level of profitability that you can build on. And being realistic as well with the time aspect. So not expecting it to happen straight away, giving yourself, a good block of time, whether that's 6 months, a month, 2 years, whatever it is, depending on how much you can allocate to your trading per day, per week or whatever. But just saying, you know what, this is the learning phase. I can start slowly. There's no rush. There's no reason to lose any money in this first phase apart from allocated learning capital. Not treating it like usual learning. So stop trying to absorb everything. Just pick something, create your own method and strategy and focus on becoming very, very good at that. If that should fail, you pick something else, but don't try and be a master of all trades, especially in the beginning. Focus and study learning from mistakes. The mistakes will come. They're easier to fix early on in the game than they are later on in the game, especially if they're bad habits. And the realism of time and money and saying, hey, this is a learning phase. I'm not going to make any money in this learning phase, but hopefully at the end of it, I'm going to have a skill set that I can then use to make some money. All right, guys, add yours in the comment section below. See you in the next one. Bye-bye.